Hello, everybody. Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining you today from the Hy-Vee, all Hy-Vees in Dane County. She's everywhere. Andrea Miller, registered dietitian. Welcome back to the show, Andrea. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. I'm very excited to talk to you about mental health in food. I think this is going to be a really fun and interesting topic. Mental health is definitely at the forefront for a lot of different reasons and really good reasons. It's actually being talked about. And I think today tying in the food component to mental health, which the first thing I thought when I saw this was, well, I had a bad day. I'm getting potato chips and I'm sitting on the couch and that's the way it's going to be. But you're going to work me out of that for sure. But let's set it up here first. That mental health and nutrition and they all go together.
Right. So we certainly don't want to say exclusively just focus on your food and don't seek out professional mental help. That's not what we're saying here. It definitely goes together. And so there's certainly different levels of mental health, different levels of mental illness. We want to acknowledge that, and that's the reality, and that's and we fit differently into that. But today we want to talk about, there's research done on nutrition and mental health and mood and sleep and appetite, and we want to talk about and kind of remind folks about what we can do, what we do have control over with nutrition, and that can actually have a positive effect on our mood and our sleep and our appetite. So that's what we want to talk about today.
Yeah, and I'm suspecting if there's a question that you get as a dietitian, some people like these coffee drinking people like myself, or is like, man, I'm always so tired and just feel just mentally exhausted, and it makes me moody, and it makes me and what could I bring? What could I add into food to help boost that up on top of, again, other things in mental health world?
Sure. Yeah. And first of all, that's a great acknowledgement. It's a great acknowledgement for someone to kind of step back and make that association. So that's a good thing right there. Next, think about, even before we get into specifics of the what, think about anything in excess, anything lacking. So the extremes, think of that first. That's usually what causes issues. So if we're consuming caffeine all day long in a steady stream versus a few cups, some water, another cup, some water, that's a completely different story. Same thing with types of foods. If we're having, some potato chips on the side of our sandwich or our wrap or whatever we're having as a meal, no big deal. But we sit down with a whole bag and we're using food in a different way and we're eating it in excess, that's what causes the concerns. And that's what throws us off in terms of neurotransmitters and just kind of like those communications with our body and our mind.
And if you're just going to throw it out there here, if you were going to pick some foods that could bring some smiles, bring some light to it, there's a question for you. I want to smile today. What food, Andrea, can you make me, or could you suggest that I eat? But just in general, what would you turn to help boost the mood a little bit, get that spirit going?
Sure. That's an interesting question because we look at food, in different ways. And so sometimes certain foods bring a smile to our face because we get excited about eating it, like a cupcake or a bag of potato chips or something like that. But when we're talking about kind of thinking about it internally, internally what's going to affect our mood and keep us balanced, that's where we really want to think eating food, real food from the food groups most of the time. So when I say most of the time, I'm talking 80, 85%. So not this has to be 100%, has to be perfect mentality, but most of the time, 80, 85% foods from the food groups. So think color, think fruits and vegetables, think variety, whether it's within the fruits and vegetables, variety in our proteins, variety just overall, thinking, how can I eat real foods? What sounds good to me? Start with the real foods first. And then perhaps you enjoy the other things that bring that literal smile to your face. and you kind of enjoy it together, but really focusing on food as food and food as nourishment, and let it kind of internally help improve all the different signals that are happening and all the different pathways that are going on.
Yeah, food has a powerful thing, you know, whether it's good or bad. But as you were saying that too, I was thinking comfort food, you know, thinking that, you know, making a holiday dinner where you make that special thing that you do with your parent or your mom or your grandma, you know, making that dish. Those are all things that could bring that to the forefront. All right, let's talk about the plan though.
Yes.
An easy plan here. And again, you still want to work with your doctor. You still want to, you know, get the medical help that you need. Certainly we're not replacing that. Want to emphasize that, but how do we build the plan here for success?
Right. So first, think about a plan is really important, and you don't want it to stress you out. That's the other important thing. So again, we can go to extremes in a lot of different ways. We want to find that happy medium where we plan enough where we feel at ease. We have food in the house. We know what we're going to have when we get hungry for lunch. We know what we have for snacks available. So plan enough. I kind of explained to people, plan enough where it helps put you at ease. You don't want to plan where it stresses you out. So there isn't one perfect way to do it or one specific way you have to do it, but do what works for you, do what works for your family, and think about having an idea. If you feel good about knowing what you're going to have for the week, great. If you feel good knowing what you're going to have the next 2 or 3 days, that's great too. So the idea of having a plan is just having one. Versus feeling like you have to fit in something very specific. And think of all the foods. Try to think about what you want to include. There's so many messages out there about everything we so-called shouldn't be having. Really try to focus on foods to eat, what you like, what sounds good to you, and then go from there.
Yeah, and picking some of those foods and sharing it certainly important. I love you saying that. What would be the takeaways on that front?
Yeah, so there's a lot of studies on how, you know, if we eat together, if we eat with other people whenever possible, sometimes it can be stressful, but ideally if we can even enjoy the preparation piece and then sit down together. And, you know, I kind of have a different way of thinking. We've heard before too, that you should always, you know, sit at a table and light a candle. And, you know, even if you're by yourself, I'm not too opposed to, even if somebody's by themselves, you know, talking to a friend on the phone while they're eating, or even watching a show, you know, where they're kind of like taking their time and they're kind of, you know, have a little entertainment while they're eating too. So it's just kind of making that an enjoyable experience versus feeling like a chore and feeling like the have tos, you know, putting pressure on yourself. But enjoy it if you can. And if that means eating with other people, that's highly recommended.
Andrea, all great tips, and I could ask you 3,000 more questions here on because we all live a stressful life. It doesn't matter single, together, family. It's all stressful, and it's a great starting point here. And we appreciate all your time. If people like to learn more or get in contact with you with their questions. So.
Yeah, so we have, we've included the link that you can get connected with me right on the website, as well as my email, direct phone for the local market here. I'm happy to work with people individually.
Perfect. Andrea, thank you so very much. I'm about to go get a healthy salad for lunch because I prepped it early, and you're right. You took the stress out of it, prepping it early and being good. But you pick your feel good thing, and yeah, we'll hopefully talk about this again down the road.
Okay, sounds great.
Right, Andrea Miller from Hy-Vee Registered Dietitian. Ask her questions. She's happy to answer them, and she'll get back to you really quick. I've asked her lots of questions, for obvious reasons, but yeah, she does a great job. We'll take a quick break. More to come. You're watching Talking Pittsburgh.